Live with CDP Sports Talk, a weekly sports and entertainment podcast sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet. Live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn. And on audio via Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, Anchor FM, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Radio Public, and TuneIn. Now, here's your host, Chris Palme.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Season 7, Episode 40, overall a 370 of Live with CDP Sports Talk, sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out barrycullen.com for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, or give them a call at 519-824-0210, or email them at info@barrycullen.com. Live with CDP Sports Talk is on weeknights from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern on radio station WQEE 99.1 FM in Noonan, Georgia, the home of Southern Talk and Sports. Happy Family Day for those here in Ontario for the holiday, and also those watching in the United States. Happy President's Day on this Monday, February 19th, 2024. I'm looking forward to my guest today. This is my second show today, and my guest, this is her first time on here, and I was just recently on her show as well. Her name is Sonja Pearson. She's the founder of the all-female Carolina Panthers fan club, and she's a host of her own podcast show that I was on recently called the All Things Football from a Lady's Perspective. And we're going to bring Sonja on and talk a little bit about podcast, her fan club, and the National Football League as well. Good evening, Sonja. How you doing?
Good evening, Chris. I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me. I hope you're doing well.
I'm doing well, and it's hard to believe it's already February 19th.
Yeah, the month is almost over with.
Absolutely. How's the weather in Atlanta right now?
So today was a really pretty day. It was a little cooler both today and yesterday, considering the last week or so we've had like spring-like weather, honestly, the 60s. I prefer the cold weather myself. I actually am a winter baby, just had a birthday a couple of weeks ago, so was looking for a little snow here, but that didn't happen. But it's really pretty today. As long as the clouds stay away, it's just a great day. So just happy to be here.
Happy belated birthday, number 25 for you.
Yes, number 25, almost times 2.
Oh, come on. You look 25 to me. Hey, what was your dog's name again as well?
His name is Lawson. Lawson.
Would you bring him on? Yes, yeah. I love dogs. I even like cats too. I have a spoiled cat named Latte, Siamese cat. Hello.
He's mommy's little first son, and he's 5.5.
5.5. Oh, he's not quite a senior yet. He's still young.
He's still young. I know he appreciates being able to say hello, so thank you for that.
What's his favorite dog treat?
His favorite dog treat are the Milk Bone dental chews. You know, the ones that's like the small medium. It keeps his teeth clean, and he seems to love them. He also loves anything I'm eating. He wants some of it.
Anyways, so how are things going with your show, All Things Football from a Lady's Perspective? And when's your next show, and who do you have lined up for some guests this week?
So I actually revamped my name from All Things Football from a Lady's Perspective to Prim and Proper Sports, because now we're delving into NBA, hockey, and MLB. And so I wanted to be able to cater to a broader audience. And of course, the NFL news never stops, but it's going to be Prim and Proper Sports as the umbrella over the All Things Football from a Lady's Perspective. And tomorrow night, so I film, I'm live on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and at 9 p.m. on Wednesdays, Eastern Standard Time on the Roku channel on the Northeast Streaming Sports. Mac and Linda over there are amazing producers, and they put my show on. Before that, I was just on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter, X and Instagram. So I'm filming tomorrow night. I have a very special guest, Miss Renee Washington, who is a 3-time women's soccer player. She's an ESPN and CBS analyst out of Philadelphia, and she also has her own show up in Philadelphia. So I'm excited about having her on. She's going to be on tomorrow night live with me at 7. Then on Wednesday night, I will have Pink Fan Fur, who is a super fan of the Carolina Panthers. She's going to be coming on, joining me on Wednesday night at 9. And then on Thursday night, I will have someone probably hosting my show because I was invited to the Panther Stadium in Charlotte for a group leader exclusive only behind the scenes with some of the players. And I may even get a chance to meet David Tepper. But I'm going to be driving up to the Charlotte area that evening. So, and then I'll come back on Friday and I have another guest as well. And then the following week, I have a major another major person that's going to be coming on. I kind of want to keep it mum right now because he's really big. I mean, like, let's see, how can I compare it? I guess like NFL Network-ish type ESPN. So he works with one of those affiliations. And so he's going to be coming on my show the first week of March. And then just a lot. And then Chris, you're going to be coming back on amongst all of that as well.
That sounds good. And Renee Washington is a friend of mine, and I've had her on my show, and she's a great guest, and she's really doing a good job with her media work. And she's a Philadelphia Eagles fan too, and she's involved with lacrosse, the National Lacrosse League. She was involved with that league as well. So Renee's really dabbled in a lot of sports, and I think you got a great guest there. And continue success with your show as well.
Thank you. I'm super excited about having Renee. I met her on with Mac, Jack, and Jim Jeffcoat a couple of weeks ago in PAGS. And she's so down to earth, so just like girl around the way type, like a neighbor. And so we've exchanged information and we've texted, and she's so graciously to come on. So I'm super excited about having her. And she's, seems to be a beautiful person inside and out. So I'm very excited about her tomorrow. So thanks for the endeavors. And of course, as you, Chris, you are doing the thing down here on the radio station in Noonan, Georgia, which is a suburb of Atlanta. So we hear you down here and just super proud of everything you got going all the way from Ontario.
Yes, I've been on the radio station now for 1 year. Tonight marks my first year of anniversary, and I'm just trying to prove to people that age is just a number. And I'm doing this the old school way, self-taught and that. And I just want people to know that they can switch careers at any time as long as you got the passion, the energy, and you're willing to learn.
Well, happy anniversary. Congratulations. And you're so right about that. We can always learn something no matter young or old. You never stop learning. You never stop living your dreams. Like you're never too old to have a dream. So I solely believe that. So congrats on that.
Absolutely. And Jim Jeffcoat's son, Jackson, played in the Canadian Football League with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and I was able to interview him at this year's Grey Cup, which is our version of the Super Bowl. So I'm not sure where Jackson's going next, but really good guy, young guy to interview. And I can't wait for the CFL to start up in May because that's football. And the CFL has been really great with my media work with getting to interview coaches and players. And a lot of these guys come from the States, and they find out how hard the CFL is as well. It's a little bit different than the NFL with the balls are the same size, but the fields are wider and longer, and it's 3 downs instead of 4 downs. But a lot of these guys have so much respect and love it up here. And I'm just excited that football is only going to be a couple months away from me here as well. And then the NFL starts back up in July. So it's not going to be that long of a wait for us.
Yeah, not too long. And of course, we have the draft coming up in April. Everyone is pretty much excited about that except the Panthers because we don't have a draft. So we'll just watch everyone else, join in. And hi, Anissa, that's my sister. She said, hi there, cute side pony is name. Thank you, Anissa. That's my sister. She's tuning in on my YouTube, looks like. So meet my sister, Chris. This is Anissa Chris. And
he's from
Canada.
I think I met your sister the last time I was on your show.
She's always supportive. She's
awesome.
Been super busy. She's an RN in North Carolina and a nursing director and all that good stuff. Really busy, giving back to the community and healthcare and everything. So I'm always blessed when she has an opportunity to join. So thanks, Anissa.
Awesome. And speaking of the NFL draft, it's in Detroit this year, which is only 3.5 hours for me, and I am putting in for a media pass for that. So
Oh,
fingers
wow.
crossed to get a media pass for that. And I also put in for a media pass for the NFL Combine, which is going to be in Indianapolis, I believe, in March. And
Yes, that's
hopefully I'll be
gonna
there
be
for that too.
amazing. Oh, I'm definitely you're gonna have to keep me posted offline about that. I know you're gonna get in, Chris. I'm super excited for you. That's so cool.
Well, fingers crossed, and we'll see what happens. And let's see. I met Chris before. Hi again, Chris.
Yeah, she
And I
said
have a
you.
And I have a viewer from Ireland. His name is Jimmy Joe. One love
Hi,
for Ireland. Thank you,
one
Jimmy.
love.
Yeah, Jimmy was great. He came on my show earlier today with Rachel Lipsky, the Nashville recording artist star from Nashville. And thank you, Jimmy, so much for coming on. And this is the one thing I love about doing this show. It's not just in Canada; it's in the States and it's in other countries in the world, and it's just great.
It's super exciting. I'm proud of you, Chris. You're doing big things. I'm aspiring to be just like you. And hi, Jimmy Joe. Thank you so much. He said, "Happy belated birthday. Hope the paint didn't come off the kitchen floor blowing them candles out." No, not this time, Jimmy Joe, but I appreciate that.
That's awesome. And you know what? I've been trying to get my viewers more involved in my show. And I want to say again, I don't know if Jamie Pegs is watching, but Jamie gave me some advice when I first started a couple years ago, and he got me onto StreamYard. He gave me some advice and pointers, and I really appreciate Jamie doing that. And like I said, I might live in Canada, but I have friends everywhere, and I consider Jamie a friend. And I just love it. And Linda McGrath too. I think she's watching. She's always been very supportive of my work. And you're doing a great job too. So just keep up doing what you're doing. Be yourself and be consistent and have your passion and your time will come.
Thanks so much, Chris. Yeah, Linda and Pags are awesome. Mac, everybody over there, I literally feel like they're family. Just always willing to support, always willing to share, always checking in. And I'm just honored and blessed to be part of that, Northeast Streaming Sports family. I literally consider them family. They're really sweethearts. So all of those guys. But yeah, so I know you got some questions for me. So I'm all ready for them.
Okay, the first question we're going to ask you, Sonia, is can you tell my audience just a little bit about yourself?
Hi, so I'm Sonja Pearson. I'm originally from Red Springs, North Carolina, but I've been living in Atlanta my entire adult life. So that's over 20 years now. I work in the judicial system. I have a passion for serving. So I've been working for the courts for quite a while now. I also have aspirations of being an attorney because I've been literally working as a paralegal for over 20 years. And so I really like doing that. I'm a fur mom to my son Lawson, who I had on the show when we first began. I have a beautiful family. I have four sisters, two brothers, and they all are back in North Carolina. I get a chance to travel and see them a couple of times a year. I try to make it third, fourth times. And I also am a grand auntie to a niece and nephew. And because my niece and my oldest niece and nephew are both married, and so I'm a double auntie on that. But I call my nieces and my daughters because they're like my daughters. And then I have my one and only nephew by blood, and then I have another nephew by marriage that my niece got married. So I'm a member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. I graduated from the University of North Carolina systems, North Carolina college systems back in '98, and moved to Virginia for a couple of years, and then I've been in Atlanta ever since 2001. And I'm a huge Panthers fan. I like to sing as well. I used to write music and everything. Like I'm really musically motivated. I actually been in some talent shows and won a couple of those. And so I used to have aspirations of being a singer, but between that and being an attorney, and then of course wanting to be a mom, the maternal aspect. But I love sports. I'm a huge Panthers fan. Ride or die, seemingly seems like as of the last few years. I got into sports casting back in 2017. Actually, 2016, 2017, I started the all-female fan club for the Carolina Panthers. It started out as something for me to do with friends that I knew back in the Carolinas. while I was here. And then next thing you know, we went to the Super Bowl and the group just morphed from like 500 to one time we had 12,000 members. Right about now, it's around 8,000 because so many people have matriculated out because of the losing seasons. But I had an uncle who really got me involved in NFL, Edward Walker. Sadly, I lost him right before Christmas in 2018, but he was the first person I told I was going to do like a little YouTube podcast. I used to send him all my shows before I would post them, and he would approve of them. And I just feel like, that was our way of being together. And even when he, was towards his last days, he told me he would always be there, with me, especially doing this. And he felt like one day I'd be on the field, and he just wanted to be with me when I got my press pass. So a part of me is always really dedicated, especially because I feel like I'm doing it for him. And then Linda and Mac found me last year towards the holidays. I could not believe they just inboxed me and said they had seen my show on YouTube, and I was shocked. And it's been up from there. So that's a little bit about me, or a lot.
That's a lot, but hey, I was going to ask you, Red Springs, North Carolina, how much of an adjustment was it going from there to Atlanta 20 years ago? And how hard was the court systems in Atlanta and Georgia affected by the pandemic? I know it was worldwide, but I just wanted to ask you those two extra questions.
So Red Springs is a very small rural town outside of Fayetteville, North Carolina, which is where the military base is. I think it's called Fort Liberty now. It used to be Fort Bragg and Pope Air Force Base. So it's a small area, about half an hour from that area. The population is around 3,000. It's very small. It was smaller when I was growing up. A very, very close-knit area. At least it was like 80% of the town. Everyone's related. But I went from there to Richmond, Virginia. So I kind of like tell people it was a stepping stone for me because I lived in Richmond for 2 years after college, and then I moved to Atlanta. So I kind of had like a little stepping stone going into Richmond, but it's super major to go from a hometown that has like not even 2,000 people to a metropolis like Atlanta that has, like 1 million in the city limits. And then you got the suburbs of Atlanta. They kind of call those like the 5 boroughs, like New York. It's literally like the New York of the South. So at a minimum, it is a lot. Like I have family that'll come sometimes, and it may be their first time coming, and they'll be like, "Girl, how do you drive here?" And so it's a big difference. But I moved here, when I was just becoming an adult. Now I'm fully an adult, so I like just feel like I just kind of grew with the city, so to speak. Um, it's just one of those things, it's there. Now the pandemic, it did affect our areas. As a matter of fact, I work for DeKalb County government, and that specific government is one of the larger jurisdictions in the United States as far as processing goes, like across the board, mail, everything. And so we're still working on the backlog because a lot of cases, that have not been able to be resolved. They did incorporate Zoom court, which helped quite a bit because people would appear, in Zoom court as far as civil matters. But for the criminal matters that had to be prosecuted and, basically someone was going to end up with some type of in custody time, they really couldn't do those by Zoom because you'd basically be taking a person at their word that they would turn themselves in, and that's not going to happen. So they're working on the backlog of that. It was basically for about 2 months, it was a complete shutdown. No one was anywhere. Then they started a hybrid situation where you kind of went in a couple of times a week, and they rotated people out that way. And the public was slowly brought back in. Some courts right now are still requiring masks, even now, because we're still kind of in a tridemic type situation with the new RSV and all that stuff going on. But for the most part, everything is up back like it was before. But like you're saying, that was a situation that we will never get over. As far as the things that have happened, the people that have lost loved ones. Some people lost their jobs, but then some people realized that, by being able to work hybrid, that was something that they were interested in doing. And so they, went elsewhere for careers and things. They didn't return to their normal jobs because they felt like they wanted to balance their work family balance, or they just wanted to be at home, in a more relaxed environment and doing their work. So the pandemic has forever changed us all, I'm sure.
It changed me. This is when I started my new career in podcasting and radio was in March of 2020. So it really helped me get through those 2 years doing my shows virtually. And then the last couple of years, I've been able to do live in-person interviews. One last question I wanted to ask you about your job, and then we'll get to some NFL questions. And that is, what is a daily day like in the court system like for you?
So it's busy, especially now that they're starting to put like a lot of people on, the calendars and stuff like that. A lot of people just ask general questions. They're applying for representation of the court, from the public defender's office. Um, I actually work now in the traffic sector, so I get to see everybody that gets a traffic citation in my county that comes to court, like everything from expired registrations to speeding to accidents, you name it. And so, traffic court is extremely busy, but it's extremely fast paced, whereas the other courts are busy, but they may, have to, when you go to like criminal cases like misdemeanors or even felonies, you will go to your first appearance, which is like basically to the probable cause. You'll have your bond hearing before that. Then you'll go to your probable cause. Then you'll come back and, be like formally arraigned. And then you may come back and try to work out a deal with the court. Well, in traffic court, it's not always that way. It's like, hey, I'm here. Can I work out a deal where I don't get this many points on my license and I just want to pay today? Or if I'm not paying today, the court will reset me for 30 days so that I can get paid, so that I can come up with the money to pay. And then your case is resolved and you're done. So that's how that works.
What's the biggest excuse you hear from people and to the judge these days?
Oh, I didn't know I had court. And then they'll show up and they have a warrant or something. I didn't get the court notice. And I'm like, everybody gets their email. You didn't get a court notice? Like, that's crazy. So that would be it. Or like sometimes they want, public representation, and they'll say like they'll realize they make too much money for public representation by the public defender, which has to be, income based. And they'll say something like, well, I'll just quit my job. I literally have heard someone say, I'll just quit my job so I can get a lawyer for free and then I'll just get my job back. So those are some of the things you hear while you're there. It's never a
One
dull
day you
moment.
one day you'll be able to write a book. And I have some comments here. Jimmy Joe again. I was watching the Super Bowl. Ken glasses.
He must be talking about Kansas.
Okay, played well. Yeah. And then my friend Barry. I've known Barry for a few years. Hi, Chris. Great show tonight. Thank you, Barry, for watching. Really appreciate it. And then I have Sean Bradham. Hello, I love my Carolina Panthers football team. Keep pounding. Thank you, Sean, for that comment.
Thanks, Sean.
And I appreciate it. And then another comment from Jimmy, listening in. I'm just organizing my son's school stuff for tomorrow. Love everyone.
One love.
And Jimmy's sharing our links to our show on his homepage. Thank you,
Thank you.
Jimmy.
Thank you.
And I had a funeral that day. Oh, okay. I'm sorry to hear that, Jimmy.
Wow, me too.
So, all right. We're gonna get to some NFL questions. Like I said, I love asking questions and I love storytelling. And you're a great guest to have on. And I really thank you for coming on tonight.
I'm honored to be here. Thank you so much for having me, Chris.
You're welcome. When did you take an interest in the NFL? And besides your uncle, late uncle, who were some other influences in your love of sports?
So I would say I've watched the NFL off and on since I was a child. I used to watch my dad and my uncle. My dad is deceased as well. And so they used to
I'm
watch the
sorry.
game Sunday. Yeah, thank you. They used to watch the games on Sundays. And so, I would pay attention. And I kind of was a tomboy, honestly, growing up. Like I didn't wear makeup or anything till I got older. Just always kind of had an interest in sports. And so they kind of was always, the NFL was kind of like in the background of something going on. I took a serious interest in the NFL around 2010. And during that time, I was, paying attention to Steve Smith. I was looking at the Panthers because they had not been long franchise. I mean, they came in like 95, 96. I was in college. I really wasn't paying that much attention then. But to know that the Carolina Panthers were, looking formidable during that time. And, it was kind of hard not to pay attention to them. So I would literally say my dad and my uncle were like literally the greatest influences of of sports, and specifically my uncle. Like, we used to watch entire games. He was in North Carolina and I was here in Atlanta, and we would be on the phone the entire game, just listening, watching the game together, just a way to spend time together. Um, and then we'd be like, "You see that play?" And my uncle, kind of taught me a lot about the sport. And like, I learned so much. Like, I remember learning what a first down was. And I was like, because before that I was just like, "Oh, okay, they scored, yay, yay, yay." And then, like, I have a friend now that over the last couple of years has been my friend and has taught me a lot, like, about the plays and things like that. And so it just made me even more interested, because I realized there's an art to football. It's not just, they're running the end zone, they're getting a first down, or they're making these plays. It literally is like the playbooks are just like studying for school. These quarterbacks and these receivers and everyone has to know these plays just like they're studying. And I never realized how complex the game is. And it just intrigued me more to know that this is such a great sport that our country has, and that is worldwide and world respected, and that it's just so high energy. Like, I've gone to games and almost passed out from being so hyped up. I remember going to a Saints game against the Panthers, and I had really good seats. And I went with my friend from Baton Rouge. I went in and I told her I was coming to the game. And so she lived in Baton Rouge. She drove down to New Orleans because her sister was having a birthday that weekend. And she was like, "You don't even have to stay in New Orleans, your hotel, just stay with us. And then me and you can go to the game." So we did. And if she's watching, Tranisha, hey girl, I had to tell this. She is like the best. She didn't even have a Saints shirt. I remember her going and buying a Saints shirt. I was like, "Girl, you are not a real fan." But we were on like row 8 or 9 in the end zone. We had really good seats. And I was so excited that I was that close to Drew Brees. I mean, I was over the top. I still have videos. Um, I've gone to a lot of Falcon games here in Atlanta. My friend and I have gone, and I've been right behind the team here. And it's just the energy, to know that you are like right there with the players, and just you can see them, you can see the frustration, you can see the excitement. It's just an adrenaline rush for me. And I used to watch NBA quite a bit growing up, but I have literally changed that the NFL is my favorite sport.
I went to my first NFL game December 1985 with my late dad at the Pontiac Silverdome in Detroit. We saw the Super Bowl champion Bears and Walter Payton, Jim
Oh,
McMahon, William Perry beat the Lions 46-10, and that was my
sweet.
first NFL game. Unfortunately, my late father passed away, and we didn't have a lot of cameras back then. So, but being a 13-year-old boy, that was like I was in awe of being at my first NFL game. And the one thing about the NFL, and you can say that for the Canadian Football League and college football, football in general brings everybody together. It doesn't matter your walk of life, your
Yes,
color, your religion. When it's
yes.
football season, wherever you are, it brings people together.
It does. It really does. And I've been to a lot of stadiums. I've gone to the Nissan Stadium. I went with a friend that lives in Nashville. She and I met there because I had this one thing that one year I wanted to go to all the away games that the Panthers had. I literally have checked off all the NFC South right now except Tampa Bay. I've been there, but not to their stadium. So that's like a goal I have, is to kind of like at some point see all 32 of the stadiums. I've seen a few just on road trips. Like, I've seen, Lucas Oil Stadium. I've seen Ford Stadium because I've done a road trip where I've traveled a lot within the city. I've seen Hard Rock Stadium in Miami. Like, I've seen all these places, but I haven't actually been into all the games, except the NFC South and the Tennessee Titans and Nissan Stadium.
You need to go to Lambeau Field in Green Bay, which is a bucket list. It's just amazing. Lambeau Field and Highmark Stadium in Orchard Park, New York. Bills Mafia, that's another stadium as well. And I'm hoping to get to Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia. My goal is to do every NFL stadium, and I just love hearing your stories as well.
I've been to Soldier Field and it was cold up there too. When the Bears played the Panthers. I've been to that stadium as well. I actually have been I went to Yankee Stadium, but I have not gone out to the wetlands to see. And I've seen where Bill's Mafia plays too, because I've been in Niagara Falls. I just haven't been to the games. So I have to
Okay.
go when they're playing. Like I gotta get that done. So I'm glad you reminded me because that's something I need to be actively working on.
Did you go to the Canadian side of the Niagara Falls or the American side?
I went both. And so I went both. And then when I went into Canada, I went to this winery that was up there. It was really, really nice.
In Niagara Falls. Yeah, Niagara Falls, Ontario is wine country here. It's our version of Napa.
Yes, it's so nice. I bought like 3 bottles and I think I still have 2 of them. It was very nice.
Awesome. And hopefully you come back to Ontario again. I'd like to see you come up to a Canadian Football League game and see how it's played with the 3 down football. I think
I
you would
would love
really
that.
enjoy it.
I would so
Definitely.
love that. Thanks, Chris.
Definitely. And I've never been to Georgia. I've been to 13 states, but I plan on coming to Atlanta, Georgia at some point. And I want to come up to Florida for spring training for Major League Baseball as well. I get another comment from one of your friends, I believe Tanya. I'm always impressed by Sonja's knowledge and passion for football.
Oh, thank you, Tanya. That's my cousin. She's so sweet. Thank you, Tanya. Tell your mom I was on. Mwah. So yes, and thank you so much for that. I'm humbled when people say that because I have come a long way, self-taught a little bit.
Absolutely. And this show has really changed my life. I've met a lot of people that I never would have met if I didn't change my careers 4 years ago.
It's funny you say that because even though like when I graduated, I have a criminal justice degree and like almost a double degree, sociology as well. Like anybody that knows that's taking those courses know that they're very, very close. Love you too, Tanya. Mwah. My minor was in broadcasting communication. So it's almost like full circle for me that I'm doing this because I literally, when I first started college, I wanted to be a news anchor. So now go figure, I'm on podcast.
I'll tell you something about me as well. Tanya, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate the comments. When I was younger, I did okay in school and I did like broadcasting, but they didn't have this technology and I didn't really have a focus or a passion that much. So I ended up taking law and security and I worked in corporate security for many years. But that profession, I had to deal with all walks of life and I had to talk to people, interview people, listen to people, deal with everything. And I think it prepared me for this. So, in a way, things happen for a reason. And to be honest, I don't know if I would have been ready to do this in my 20s because with celebrities and athletes and coaches, I would have been like too shy. I was once very shy. I hated public speaking and being in front of a camera. And now I'm very comfortable being behind a camera and being on air.
You do really, really well. And a fun fact about me that nobody's going to believe, my sister probably knows this, and anyone that was in 3rd grade with me will know this. So I have a huge fear of like when people are paying direct attention to me, like singing. I have bad stage fright when I sing, but I'm a people person. I love to talk to people. I'm outgoing. I've always been very like comical, like all of this. Like my classmates, everybody knows this. But in 3rd grade, we were in this play called Babes in Toyland. And I remember the girl who was going to be dancing with me, I told her to spin me the entire time because I did not want to see the audience because I would be afraid. Later on in life, about a few years ago, I took a trip and there was a karaoke. And I was like scared to do this karaoke, and everybody was like, "You should do it." I got on the stage, and I immediately, when I rewatched the film, the whole time I'm rubbing my arms, just all this nervous movement. And they finally, before I started singing, had to black the audience out so that I could sing. I was terrified, and it's so bizarre that I really, really love people. And I am outgoing. I've had people say I'm the life of the party. Like I walk into a room and just I start socializing with people. But in that instant, it's different. And even when I was getting ready to come on here with you, I always get nervous because now I know the more people are engaging and watching, I am a little nervous, but it does help me to know that people send comments like Carol McCain here, who says she's learned football NFL by John Madden and Pat Summerall. Yes, I remember them. So thanks for your comment, Carol.
And one piece of advice I got when I first started this was talk to your, it's okay to prepare and write stuff down, but talk to your guests like you're at a donut or a coffee shop, sporting event. And I've learned now how to ad lib. Like sometimes I write down questions I want to ask my guests, but now when I talk to my guests, make sure I have very good listening skills. And sometimes a guest can talk and tell you the answers to 8 or 9 questions. And sometimes you can actually think of questions when your guest is speaking as well. And that's another thing too, is I've had to work on my listening skills as well as talking.
Yeah, and that's the thing, because you got 2 ears, so you're supposed to be able to hear twice as much as you speak. Hi, Nada.
Nada's from LinkedIn, and she's one of my supporters. Always nice seeing people pursue their passion. I'm a late starter, but you know what? It's never too late.
That's right. Thanks, Nada.
And LinkedIn has been a great platform. So I want to say thank you to everyone watching on LinkedIn as well, and I really appreciate it. And then Tanya, another comment. It was well, it was definitely prepared, Chris. You are a great host. I'm far from perfect. I'm still a work in progress, and my show is only as good as its guests. I'm just a host. People want to see the guests, so I always try to make it about the guests, and I love doing this.
She's a sweetheart. Thank you, Tanya. I'm trying to actually see now, because I forgot we're connected on LinkedIn, because I'm going to share it on my LinkedIn, because I usually stream live on there as well. So thanks for that reminder, Chris.
And we're live streamed on my Instagram page as well, thanks to StreamYard.
Yes,
And
StreamYard's the
I'm
best.
and I'm an affiliate with StreamYard. So if anybody here wants to sign up for StreamYard, please DM or email me at cpome19@gmail.com. StreamYard's been great. Another comment from Carol. You're welcome. Hey, Carol, I want to say thank you for watching us as well.
That's right. Thank you, Carol.
All right, I have another question I wanted to ask you, by the way. Can you tell us a little bit about your athletic side in sports? And did you have a favorite male and female athlete when you were growing up?
So I have been in sports my whole life. I did track and field. I tried to do softball one season. Track and field was the longest one I did, because I stayed with that all 4 years of high school and a couple of years in college as well. Um, I I always liked doing that. I did the shot and discus as well, and I did the 400-meter dash. I
Wow.
wasn't super fast, but I was decent. I had good teammates. I also was in band a lot, and I also worked, like I had a little job at the store, what have you. But my favorite, let me start with my favorite female first. My favorite female was Florence Griffith Joyner. I loved FloJo. Absolutely loved her, wanted to be like her. She had the fly tracksuit with the one leg out. She ran. When she passed, it really broke my heart. If I remember correctly, she had an asthma attack or a seizure, something like that. But Florence Griffith Joyner, FloJo, she had the long hair. She was just beautiful. She was my favorite female athlete, and she was a track star. And her sister-in-law, Jackie Joyner Kersee, they both were married to coaches. They just were someone I love both of them as female athletes. Let's see, favorite male athlete. That may be a little difficult. I'm trying to think. Growing up, I do remember that I liked Walter Refrigerator Perry from the Chicago Bears, because my dad was a Bears fan and he also was a Cowboys fan. But I just remember the Super Bowl shuffle. And I thought it was so cool that the 85 Bears, by the way, I heard you say you were 13 and 85. I was 10. So we're not that much different. And I remember very well, like, Super Bowl shuffle, Chicago Bears. I was like, oh, wow. Okay. I mean, I just remember them. And so I don't know, if I would say favorite as far as growing up, but they're the ones that were the more memorable. I do remember Jackie Joyner Kersee and Florence Griffith Joyner, and Florence Griffith Joyner was like my absolute favorite. And so those are my athletic sides. I tried to do a little softball. I even tried volleyball one season. In 8th grade and 7th grade, I played Saturday morning basketball. I went out for the basketball team, but I did not make it in high school. I went out twice. And then the Coach P, if you're listening, tried to get me to try out, I think my junior or senior. And I was like, nope, because I don't want to be cut again. And she was like, but you might not be. And to this day, I absolutely love her. But that's the basketball exposure I had. So I just traveled with the team and was kind of like little game manager, handing out water, help look to see who was doing stats and stuff like that. She just kind of gave me a little job because I wanted to hang out with the team.
I played high school basketball 1 year. I wasn't very good. I was kind of the bench guy, and I could hit the odd 3-point shot. But yeah, I had a lot of fun playing basketball. Volleyball, I liked playing it when I was in school, but I have to admit, I've been watching it, filming it here in Ontario, and
Nice.
volleyball is so competitive and just amazing watching it. And they're great athletes, and some of the girls, and that obviously the guys, but some of the girls, they're like 5'10", 6'1", 6'2", and I'm like, wow, huge.
Right.
So how
Right.
tall are you? So how tall are you?
I'm 5'6 3/4", so almost 5'7", but no one ever gives me 5'7".
Okay. Did you have a favorite number when you were playing sports? Favorite number?
So when I play sports, for some reason, I like the number 16, but my favorite number is 4.
4.
But yeah, I'm 4 all the way. I was born on the 4th day at 4 in the morning, and like this year, my birthday was 2424. I'm
And
all
my
for
fa-
it.
and my favorite numbers are 19 for Steve Eiserman, who played for the Detroit Red Wings for 20 years and won 3 Stanley Cups. And 29 is my favorite number as well because I was born on June 29th.
Oh, okay. Got you. My one of my aunts was born on that day, and my
It's a,
godmom's born the day after yours. So yeah, okay, great.
it-
And
it's a great
Anissa, who
day.
came on earlier, is a Cancer. So you guys are the same sign. My sister that came on earlier, so that explains why she was super cool.
And we can be moody, by the way, being Cancer.
Yes, I know. So Carol says Doug Williams, Jane Kennedy, and Flojo for me too. Yep, I love it, Carol.
Doug Williams, the first African American quarterback to win a Super Bowl, 1988. Tremendous quarterback for Washington. And
Yes.
Jane Kennedy was one of the first women on CBS, on the NFL on CBS back in the late 70s. And Flojo, great choices.
Yeah, I was before the Panthers came to the Carolinas, I was a Washington fan, and I was a fan with when Doug Williams and them were there as well. So I used to really like Washington when they were the Redskins. I had gone to Washington when I was 12 years old, and so that's how I picked them as my favorite team. I went there for a summer vacation with my grandmother and my sister, and I was like, oh, okay, I'll just like them. So yeah, but I
They
am a
were
huge Duke fan.
Duke. Okay, I won't hold that out. I'm a Michigan Wolverines fan,
Oh, okay.
so Michigan, yeah. But Duke, when you think of Duke, you automatically think of basketball program there.
Yes. I don't follow them on their football much. I like UGA down here, the Bulldogs. So it's kind of weird because I like UGA for football, for college. I like Duke for basketball. And then I don't have a baseball team. It's just whoever, but yeah, for college.
I wanted to ask you this since you're in Atlanta. Georgia's a great sports town. What is it? What's the first love of sports in Georgia? Is it college sports first, pro sports second, or is it pro sports first and the college second?
Well, based on the attendance, it would probably be college sports, but everyone loves the Braves too. The Braves are like, I've been to several Braves games. I've been a Braves fan since I was a kid because North Carolina doesn't have a professional team. I remember like having a Braves t-shirt when I was in 8th grade that my friend Latasha, who, if she's watching, gave me. I was so excited to get that t-shirt. And so I don't know, because when you look at Falcons games, their stadiums are not field most of the time. Like, not only that, but a lot of the fans that are there, even for the NFC South, divisional games, there's just not a lot of people in there. And then if they are there and they look like the Falcons are going to lose, they just empty out like right away. So it's like very, very poorly supported, honestly, as opposed to say a couple, maybe 3, 4, 5 years ago, and Matt Ryan was there and they were riding high and they were going to go to the Super Bowl. The stadiums were packed out. Now, there are devout Falcons fans that are going to be there no matter what. But there's been a few times that I've personally bought tickets from season ticket holders that were just like, yeah, I'm not going at all. And they were decent seats. But there were times I went in there and when they played the Panthers, at least to me, it looked like it was more Panthers than there were Falcons there. Now, the last year, because the Panthers have kind of like not been the best, I saw more Falcons fans there and it was well attended. So with that answer, I would say probably the college sports first, with UGA not being in Atlanta, but being outside of Atlanta, about 45 minutes to an hour from the city. That would be the biggest support as far as there. But the Braves definitely have it hands down. Like there's no empty seats at Braves games.
And they've got a new ballpark. It looks like the Falcons have a new stadium and the Braves have a new stadium. Do you feel Atlanta will eventually get a hockey team for a third time? They've had 2 teams there and they haven't failed. They failed. Do you think in the future Atlanta could support hockey again?
That's so weird because I remember when they had at least the second one and they moved the team because they said it was a lack of support. I think with having Atlanta United here, Arthur Blank owning that team and seeing how that has been successful, that perhaps that same type of crowd, same type of audience, fan base could matriculate over to the hockey. Those types of sports kind of seem to go hand in hand down here. So we'll have to see. There's been no talks about it, but you just never know. I mean, Arthur Blank has a lot of money. He seems to have no issue with buying and selling and buying again. So, but then again, he's getting a little older now. So he may not put that money out there. He may take another, philanthropist or billionaire, so to speak, to go and purchase that type of team. But I don't really see it at the moment. I see them more so focusing on trying to build up the NFL organization here and trying to retain the fan base that they have by bringing in a better quarterback and by, solidifying the relationship they have with that organization. I will say with the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, the food is dynamite. The prices are very affordable. They're the most affordable that I've experienced in any of the NFL stadiums I've been to. It's like $3 for a drink and you get refills the whole time, as opposed to $9 in some stadiums and no refills. And so Arthur Blank has done a good job of making that stadium very friendly. During the pandemic, they had a huge vaccination station. I actually, went there for that, but they have TVs more strategically placed. There's more restrooms, so you're not having to walk a long way to, during breaks to try to get over. It's just awesome. That stadium is to me is the best stadium I've seen.
How much has their fan base shrunk in the last couple of years because they're on the field failures? And were you shocked that they didn't hire Bill Belichick?
So I have a lot of friends, by me living here over 20 years. I have a lot of friends that I talk to about the Falcons all the time. Some of them are, trying to remain hopeful by saying, hey, we know we just got to get a new quarterback. Most of them were disgusted by the mid-season when they realized they were just one game away from New Orleans and Tampa. And it's a scramble when the whole NFC South was not even 500. The Panthers were way out of it, but to know that they were banking on us to beat Tampa and one of them, New Orleans or Atlanta, had to win out to win the South was just really, really bad. I've seen some people kind of hang in there to the bitter end to go. But they're definitely not happy about the, issues with everything, but they are positive now that Raheem Morris is down here. They seem to believe in here because he was the interim head coach back in 2021. And he's also had a plethora of coaching throughout the league as assistant coaches and what have you. And so they feel that, with them having Bijan Robinson and also having, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, and that whole offensive line, and then Grady Jarrett's going to be coming back on the defense. They feel like they have the recipe to be very devastating to the entire league next year, especially if they get someone like Russell Wilson comes to Atlanta, or even if they get Kirk Cousins, a veteran quarterback. They're thinking more of a veteran quarterback could be what they need to really take them over the top, and they could really make a solid run for the NFC Championship, if not further, next year.
And winning and being competitive sells tickets too.
Right. The Belichick thing is like, at first there was a rumor out saying that basically he came in, tried to command control, and so he didn't get the job. But Arthur Blank came out and was like, that's not what happened at all. None of that happened. We just did not decide to hire Bill. So for whatever reasons, he didn't get hired. No one has a definitive answer, but he is still coachless. And that is shocking to me. Falcon fans were not as shocked because they felt like maybe he was not going to be the best fit because he does like to have coaching and general manager control at the same time. And Arthur Blank was not going to, have that same thing go along with Fontenay. I think the guy's name is Fontenay, their general manager here, and Rich McKay as well. So to have try to, take that type of control was just not going to ever happen. So I don't know. I wish we had interviewed Belichick, honestly, in Carolina.
I think Belichick will be back, but I think he'll take the year off. And I think maybe a year off from the game might be a good perspective because he's been involved with the NFL for over 50 years, going back to the early 70s. So maybe a year off for him at this age might be give him a different perspective of the game as well. So we'll see. I do think he'll be back in 2025 in the right situation. Hey, are you okay for a few more minutes, a few more questions?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm here the whole show. You got me.
You're awesome. I really enjoyed talking to you. And the thing is,
Okay.
I've met some people that are technically strangers, but you just get to know them on here and you build a chemistry and a rapport. And I know we haven't known each other a long time, but it just seems like we've known each other for years on here.
It does. And yeah, and it's funny because at first I was like, do you need me 30 or 45 minutes? But then, I'm like, hey, what the hey? I've got, I got time. So I see
What
your
was
question.
Yes, thoughts on Super Bowl 58 between Kansas City and San Francisco? And do you, as an outsider, consider the Chiefs now a dynasty with 3 Super Bowls in 5 years and back to back?
Yeah, so the Chiefs joined 7 other NFL teams to have 3 within a 5-year period. They're the first team to go back to back, if I'm not mistaken. There may be one other team. Patrick Mahomes is, you just cannot bet against him. I actually was going for the 49ers because they had Christian McCaffrey, who's a former Panther. They had Sam Darnold, backup quarterback, who's the former Jet and Panther. And then, of course, they had defensive coordinator Steve Wilks, who was the former interim head coach for the Panthers, who they've since let go, and we'll talk about that in a minute, as their defensive coordinator. But I really was proud of the 49ers. I felt like they played defensively better than they had the entire season. They looked more formidable. They looked more concise with their plays and everything. Just those 2 mistakes that they made proved to be fatal. The Christian McCaffrey turnover and the Ray McLeod turnover as well, fumble when they were trying to do the return kick. Those 2 errors proved to be fatal. Besides those errors, I feel like San Francisco could have won this game because they did a really good job of keeping Patrick Mahomes isolated. They tried to keep him in the pocket, not let him drop back. They had double coverage on Kelsey for a minute, but then when Greenlaw went out, that was a major loss to them. We knew Samuel was not playing 100% because he had been out with a shoulder injury and was kind of back. Then you saw an up and down Ayuk. And so from then, for them to try to be responsible for staying on Pacheco, staying on Kelsey, and then staying on Mahomes at a minimum, it was just a lot. And they didn't even need the factor of Kadarius Toney not being there because it was a non-factor. The Chiefs are a high offensive powered team. They have been up and down this entire season. I really did not think they were going to go to the Super Bowl. I thought it was going to be the Ravens versus the Lions. That's who I thought was going to go. I wanted the Lions to win it all because they had not won anything since I was in high school. In fact, that was just a divisional title. They hadn't won a title since 1957, which was before the Super Bowl even came about. It was the former Super Bowl thing that they had back in the 50s. That's what they won. So for all intents and purposes, they've never been even to the Super Bowl. And
Nope.
so, right. And so people are saying, the Chiefs are a dynasty. I feel like given the right situation and the right team, the Chiefs can be taken down. I know that, people have compared Andy Reid to Bill Belichick now and Tom Brady with Patrick Mahomes, but Tom had given another 20 years further, or at least 17 years further than what we see Mahomes has. If Mahomes wins two more, then yeah, we probably are willing to have the Brady conversation. But I think right now it's too early. To be honest with you, this entire season of teams across the league, we saw a quarterback carousel, we saw a coaching carousel, we saw a lot of rookie quarterbacks make their debut for the first time because of quarterback injuries throughout the league, where teams that we thought were going to be the ones going all the way ended up not going all the way. We saw Dallas fold like they always do at 12-5. We saw Jordan Love step up from beneath the shadows that we've seen where he had been under Aaron Rodgers this entire time, and Green Bay snuck and did what they needed to do and eliminated Dallas at the last possible minute. We saw Jalen Hurts and the Eagles' struggles continue, not just with their last of their 5-game loss streak, but to be eliminated by Baker Mayfield and Tampa Bay in the first round. It was just an up and down season. So to say that the Chiefs are a dynasty, it was just too many other variables going on throughout the league for me personally to say that the Chiefs are the best team in the NFL. They are for this year because they won a Super Bowl, but overall, I'm just not that sold on it.
I think what they're doing is what the Patriots did, because the New England Patriots won 6 Super Bowls, but there was a lot of Super Bowls they could have lost. But championship teams, no matter what, find ways to win. And was Ray McLeod? That ball wasn't actually fumbled by him. It hit the leg of one of his teammates. He did
Yep.
the right thing trying to pick it up, and unfortunately, it was a fluke play. And Kansas City will make you pay on fumbles and
Yep.
mistakes, just like they made Miami do it. They made Buffalo pay for their mistakes, and same with Baltimore. Kansas City, to me, is similar to New England, where they can be beaten, but you have to play a clean, perfect game to beat them.
Yep.
And San Francisco had a 10-0 lead, and then they took their foot off the gas. Anytime
Yep.
you get a lead on Mahomes and the Chiefs, just
You
like
better
with
keep
New
it.
England and Brady, you got to keep the foot on the pedal. Just look at the Falcons in Super Bowl, 48, when they were up 28-3, and it came back to bite them in the second half.
And that's the thing. Like, no one's ever gonna forget that. But I tell people Tom Brady is a fourth quarter quarterback. You can never count him out. He sat there the entire time and just warmed up. And then when it was the fourth quarter, he took off. And there, in my opinion, there will never be another quarterback that is like Tom Brady for the longevity, for the physicality, for the championships. I see the makings in CJ Stroud that are comparable for him and his tactics, his poise, and everything. But I think it's too early on the table to say, with the time that Tom put in, that we could say we'll need at least another 15 years to say, okay, yeah, we see the similarity, because the time would at least match where Tom was. And you brought up a good point about the Bills and the Dolphins. I thought this was the Dolphins' year. I thought at a minimum we would see them against the Ravens or them against the Bills for the AFC. But then you had the injury with Tyreek Hill. You see his house burn down. You see Tua coming in and out with injuries. And then just a lot of stuff they had going on, off the field that ended up playing into the on the field. And I always say, anytime your personal bleeds over into your professional, no matter what it is, it's going to always affect it. And we look at the Chiefs and we say that they won the Super Bowl, but Travis Kelce did not play his best ball this year. I know people will say that it's the Taylor Swift effect, and I have to agree a little bit, because I've seen Travis showboat when he should have caught a pass. I've seen him have a ball in his hand, and because he's so focused on looking up to the stands to throw a heart emoji to Taylor to see if she saw him, that he's not focused on the game. So I hope they get married or whatever they're going to do in the off season so he can honeymoon it and be ready for the next season, because I like Travis Kelce as a player, and I hope him and Taylor last forever. but I feel like he was not the Travis Kelce we saw in the previous season before the Swift effect, as they say, took hold.
I have a personal opinion, and I have a feeling that he's going to retire at the end of this. I really believe if he doesn't play next year, I think he's going to retire. I just have this gut feeling that what else is there for him to prove, especially winning 3 Super Bowls and winning back to back. But we'll see. I do have a feeling he'll play one more year, and then I think he'll call it a career. Just like Jason Kelsey, I want Jason to come back for Philly for one more year, but I completely understand why Jason does retire, because football does take its toll on your body and your mental health after so many years.
Right.
Absolutely. Now, just a couple more quick questions for you. Quick thoughts on the 49ers firing first year defensive coordinator Steve Wilks. I personally think it was a bad decision. I think he was the scapegoat for their loss.
Those are my exact words, scapegoat. They say defense wins championships. The defense did not lose that game for the 49ers. The offense did. We spoke about those errors by the offense. If anything, the defense was the reason why the 49ers were able to keep that game as close as they were. But it has been said that there were some issues during the regular season, some questionable things that Steve Wilks was basically focusing on the defensive backs and not the defense as a whole, and that Shanahan didn't like that. And so he basically just for the opportunity for them to lose, which is the Super Bowl. I mean, you beat 30 other teams out and you still fired him. I really was bothered by that. A lot of Panthers fans are bothered by that because we didn't like how David Tepper didn't even keep him around for the Panthers because we were winning with him. And so now, once again, I feel like Steve Wilks has gotten a bad rep. Arizona did the same thing when he was down there as their coach. And so they needed to blame someone. I did not appreciate how Kyle Shanahan came out and just basically said that Steve Wilks suddenly just didn't fit what the 49ers were trying to do. And I'm like, you don't just come out and say someone doesn't fit that got you to the Super Bowl. There had to be something else that's going on behind the scenes that we're not aware of, that's not player related, that's not performance related, but in fact is more like personality. They probably had a big blow up about something, an argument, a disagreement, and he just was like, you're fired.
I believe he'll be back in the NFL at some point in 2024, a team looking for a defensive coordinator. I really believe he will be back at some point.
Right. Me too.
All right. Next question. Are the Niners still an NFC contender going into the 2024 season? They've lost 3 Super Bowls in the last 11 years. They've lost a number of NFC championship games and a second straight Super Bowl to Kansas City, blowing a 10-point lead. If you're the owner of the Niners, where do you go with this franchise going from here, from this latest Super Bowl loss?
Yes, almost like the Chiefs are their kryptonite. This was a rematch for them from I think the 2014 season, 2020 season. They had just played each other. And so this was a rematch for them, but you have to think about it, it really wasn't a rematch. This was really a totally different team. The last time these two teams met, they did not have Christian McCaffrey. They did have Patrick Mahomes, but there was a lot of different players that were there. Kyle Shanahan was still there. And in all honesty, I think Kyle Shanahan is the common denominator for them losing. I feel like they are going to be NFC contenders, but it's so difficult to get back, Chris. Dan Campbell said it best, as much of a glorious season that they had, it is extremely difficult to get back because now you will never have the same players that you had in this season. It's kind of like when you go somewhere and you know for a fact that you have a gathering and someone may be speaking. They'll be like, you know what? Everybody in this room will never be together again. And it's true. You can invite the same people. I guarantee you at least one person going to say, oops, sorry, I can't make it. And this is the same thing we see with the teams. They're going to be drafting people. Players are going to be going somewhere else. As a matter of fact, the word is out not on the Niners, but on the Chiefs that L'Jarius Sneed may be going to the Eagles. I saw that this afternoon. And so, because he's telling the Chiefs, pay me. And they're not.
It's a business.
So you look at when the Panthers went to the Super Bowl, And us as fans don't realize it's a business. We're like, oh, okay, they did good. We need to keep the team together so they can go back and win. But
It's
for the
hard.
business aspect, these managers are like, nope, we got y'all to the Super Bowl. My player, my client wants their money. You don't have it, we're gonna go to a team that will pay them. So you're not gonna have the same team. So will they be an NFC contender? Look how many years it took them to get back to this. 3 years. And I've always heard each team is built where at least within 5 or 6 years, they all should be going to the playoffs. Every team in the division in the NFL should be going to the playoffs. Every team doesn't go, but it's supposed to be orchestrated where they do with drafts and whatnot, unless you're a team that doesn't have drafts like the Panthers. We're not going to have no drafts this year. But for all intents and purposes, the Niners are contenders is the operative word in your question. They're going to be a contender, but will they actually be there? I'm not so sure. You got the Campbells that are thirsty and they're ready to come back. And I really believe that they will be back.
And the Philadelphia Eagles too. The Philadelphia Eagles a year ago were this close to winning a Super Bowl, and this year they were 10-1. So the Eagles have gotten rid of a lot of their coaching staff, and Nick Sirianni is now on the hot seat. If the Eagles don't get to at least the NFC Championship game next year, I believe Jeffrey Lurie will fire Nick Sirianni because they've already gotten rid of their entire coaching staff. So now Sirianni, you got a new coaching staff. You better get us back to the NFC title game at least.
And even with Dallas has been 12-5 for the last 3 years. And every year, San Francisco eliminates them. But this year it was Green Bay. And Mike McCarthy is a lame duck. And Jerry Jones has already said, I'm not renewing him. And this is Dak Prescott coming up on the end of him. And he's like, we're going to let Dak run until he shows us what he's got. Was exactly what Jerry Jones said, which was no indication as to whether or not they will renew him. And so if they end up with 12-5 again and get eliminated, both of them are going to be gone. So that's another NFC team to look out for because now they're hungry. They want it. But then Dan Campbell and his Lions, who've never been there, they've got just a little taste of what it's like to be in the postseason. They want it. And they're going to bring it. But then you got the NFC South, the Atlanta Falcons, who if they just get them a quarterback, look out for them because they're coming.
Absolutely. And as for Mike McCarthy, the reason they won't fire him is because he's a yes man. Jerry Jones likes yes men. That's why he kept Jason Garrett there for 10 years. As long as they win 10, 12 regular season games, make the playoffs, they'll keep them. It's Jerry Jones to me is the one that's hurt the Dallas Cowboys franchise the last 29 years. The day that he fired Jimmy Johnson, I know they won a Super Bowl with Barry Switzer 2 years later, but that was Jimmy Johnson's team. And Jerry Jones really should just let somebody run the football operations, let the guys coach the team. Until Jerry Jones is out as Dallas's owner, I don't believe they're going to win a Super Bowl championship again.
And he's not. Jerry Jones is almost 80 years old. And if he wants to see a championship, he almost has to relinquish that control. I mean, he could still be an owner, but just not so hands-on. But if he doesn't, and this is what's going on now. This is why he said he's not going to renew Mike McCarthy. They interviewed Rex Ryan for their DC and ended up hiring Zimmer, who was the Vikings head coach from 20 and 21, the third winningest coach in Vikings history. And yeah, he'll be good down there as a DC, but you didn't even get Rex Ryan. And now we don't know. It's like he's trying to, because Dan Quinn went to the Commanders. Dan Quinn was not doing that. Their offense was doing that. So at the end of the day, Mike McCarthy is going to be the one that assumes the blame for everything. And if they start going 12-5 again, or they get eliminated round one, or they don't even make it, they're out. Both of them are out because Jerry Jones wants a ring, another ring before he leaves this earth.
I just don't see it happening anytime soon. And you got to look at the Green Bay Packers, too. They're going to be a contender next year with the development of Jordan Love and Matt LaFleur and that coaching staff. The Packers are set up to be a good young team for many years. So it's not going to be easy. The NFC is going to be even more competitive next year than it was this year, in my opinion.
The Packers, it's almost like they're that sneaky good team that you think, okay, they literally formulate their players. Look at when Brett Favre was there and they brought in Aaron Rodgers and they let him stay there and just see everything. And then when Favre went down, then here comes Rodgers. And then here comes Jordan Love and behind Rodgers. It's like they bring them in and let them learn the Packers way. And then they perfect it. Because this whole season, nobody's been thinking about Green Bay. No one's been thinking about Green Bay but Green Bay. And then here they come, lo and behold, because of the 8 or 9 different teams that needed to win and lost and all this stuff. You know how it gets crazy at the end of the season, that this team's got to win to stay in. And if this team wins, who has nothing to do with this team over here, then this team is also going to come in because they're winning too. All those crazy algorithms and stuff. We didn't see Green Bay. And Green Bay was like, here we are, and we're going to do what we need to do, and that's just eliminate Dallas, and then we'll go away. And they almost took care of the Niners.
They should have really. The Niners were lucky to get to that Super Bowl because they had to come back against the Packers and they had to make a huge rally against the Detroit Lions. So we'll see what happens in 2024. But I have one last question for you before we wrap this up, Sonja. This is a new segment I do on my show. Ask the host, that's me, CDP, a question hot seat segment. If you have a question you want to ask me, and I'll do my best to answer it.
Yes, I love that. Thanks so much, Crystal. Let me think. I have a couple, but let me think of one that could be really thought-provoking for you. So earlier we talked about Bill Belichick not being hired right now. We know that Pete Carroll is an analyst with the Seahawks for right now. He hasn't even really looked like he tried the interview. But then you have people like Mike Vrabel, who still is coachless. Do we see any of these coaches get a job this season? And if Belichick does not get a job in the NFL, does he consider going into the college world?
I can't see Belichick going to college, but I'm going to say this. This is my gut feeling. If the New York Jets under Aaron Rodgers and Robert Saleh get off to a bad start next year, I could see the Jets firing Robert Saleh and bringing in Mike Vrabel. I think Pete Carroll and Belichick are going to be on the sidelines for the 2024 season, but Mike Vrabel, I believe, will be the next head coach of the New York Jets, and I will say that right now on this February 19th, 2024.
That's a good answer because I actually thought something similar, because if the Jets start losing like 4 and 5, like probably at least 5 in a row, then Robert Saleh is out of there. And they've already got an issue with the whole, they're gonna be wanting to see what Aaron Rodgers looks like when he comes back. And let's be clear, he's probably not going to be the same. He's almost 40, he's like 39, 38, and he had a major injury. And he's played for a very long time in this league. And when you start having surgeries on your body and you're already close to 40 and you're in that much of an athletic capacity, you're just not going to be the same as you were prior. So Jets fans who have banked on this and everything, I just don't think they're going to be so sold when the season starts with Rodgers.
Absolutely. And we're going to wrap this question up here. Where can my audience follow you on social media? I'm not sure if you have a website yet. And just about your podcast again, and your next episode, and where they can find your show and subscribe to it.
Yes, thank you so much, Chris. So I'm on YouTube as Prim and Proper Sports. If you put in all things football from a lady's perspective, it'll still come up because it was just changed. But Prim and Proper Sports, and that's PRIM, so 1 M. And the word and spelled out, Proper Sports. That's on YouTube. It's on Instagram. It's on Twitter. You can also follow me, Sonja Pearson, on all social media platforms. And on TikTok, I'm on there as The Pretty Sports Lady. And you can find all my shorts on there. And I'm also on LinkedIn under my name. And the Carolina Pantherettes, the official female fan club of the Carolina Panthers. You can Google that. We have a website, thecarolinapantherettes.com. That's how you can find me. And I'm on again Tuesday, Thursday, and Fridays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 9 p.m. Wednesdays. And I'm also on Sunday mornings on the Sunday Morning Sports Show with Jim, Jeff Cope, Mac, Jack, and Pags. And that's all on Northeast Streaming Sports on Roku. Download the Northeast Streaming Sports when in the search bar from the Roku app, and it's totally free. You get cable sports 24/7 without the cost of the actual cable cost.
Okay. Well, Sonja, I want to say thank you so much for coming on my 370th episode today and my 1 year
Congratulations.
anniversary on my radio station. Really, it was really great to have you on my show. And you definitely have an open invite to come back on again. And maybe we can get you back on before the NFL draft if I'm not in Detroit that weekend, which I hope I am.
That would be very great. I would be so honored to be there. And thank you so much for always the opportunity. You have a great night. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in and supporting. Good night.
Good night, Sonja. And we'll talk to you soon on social media. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Good night.
All right, guys, that was Sonja Pearson. She's the host of her own podcast show. She did change the name of the podcast show now. It is called Prim and Proper Sports Podcast, formerly known as All Things Football from a Lady's Perspective. But again, thank you to Sonja Pearson. And I want to say thank you to everyone watching this live streamed and also on audio platforms and on radio station WQEE 99.1 FM. This is my first year anniversary on that radio station as well. I have some more news. The next live is CDP Sports Talk, sponsored by Barry Collins Chevrolet Dealership here in Guelph, Wednesday, February 21st at 9 a.m. with Marcellus Bowman. He is the head strength and conditioning coach for the CFL's Hamilton Tiger Cats. He's also a former CFL player, former NFL player, and he's also the owner and founder of Eat, Sleep, Peak Performance as well. So I hope you guys could tune in to Live with CDP Sports Talk this Wednesday, February 21st, 9 a.m. That's 9 a.m. with Marcellus Bowman from the Hamilton Tiger Cats. And we're going to talk about his role as head strength and conditioning coach and also fitness with Eat, Sleep, and Peak as well. Before we wrap up this show, guys, I did an interview with Isaac Carmichael, the color analyst on Griff Vision, and a really good guy. And this was at the Guelph men's hockey game last week where they lost 5-4. And I'm going to play this interview right now with Isaac Carmichael, a color analyst with Griff Vision, and also with the Wilfrid Laurier Golden Hawks. Your radio host of Live with CDP Sports Talk on WQE 99.1 FM. I'm here at the University of Guelph Hockey Center for tonight's game with the Western Mustangs and the Guelph Griffins. And Western came out with a 9-5 win tonight. And I have a special guest. He's the color analyst for tonight's game on Griff Vision, along with Jeffrey Brando. Isaac, just thoughts on the game tonight with Western over Guelph.
It was a lot of fun. It was Aggies night here as well as seniors night. So 2 promotional nights in one game here at the Griffin Center. So a packed house, a lot of noise, a lot of energy in the building. And Guelph came out a little bit slow, but they opened up the scoring. But it was really 5 goals in 11 minutes for the Western Mustangs in the second period. That really took the game away and took the breath away from the Guelph Griffins. And they couldn't just melt back after that deficit that they dug themselves into.
Yeah, currently both these teams have had tough seasons, Western and Guelph. Do you see one of them getting into the playoffs at all?
Well, both of them now mathematically out of the playoffs. Guelph with a win today and a Nipissing loss to climb into that 7th play-in spot. But we talked about this on the broadcast. Both these teams very young. For the Guelph Griffins, 5 of the 7 players at the top of the scoring list for this Guelph Griffins team returning next season, 2 of those being rookies. So the foundation is there for the Guelph Griffins to really be really competitive in the future. And as well, Christian Aiello leads the Western Mustangs in scoring. He's only in his 2nd year, so a lot of opportunity for the Western Mustangs and Guelph Griffins to rebound and find some success going forward.
Okay, final question, Isaac. Who do you see being a contender in the OUA men's hockey coming to the playoffs in a couple weeks?
Well, the Laurier Golden Hawks have won 10 of the last 12 games, including 2 wins over the Brock Badgers and the Queens Gales. At the time, they were seeded nationally. So that team is sort of a dark horse in this OUA West, but you have to go with the favorites there. The Brock Badgers are just really solid front to back in the OUA West. And then you have UQTR on the east side of the OUA. Them and McGill, the teams from Quebec, they're really strong and they'll be competitive as well.
All right, Isaac, and we'll wrap this up. When is your next broadcast for the Laurier Golden Hawks, and where can my audience find you on social media?
The next broadcast for Laurier Golden Hawks is up in air right now. It could be on Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday, if they place 6th, and then it could be anywhere on Wednesday if they place 5th or better. So if you can tune in on OUA.tv or Radio Lore. That's where you'll find that broadcast. And you can follow me on Isaac C. Carm09 on Instagram.
All right, Isaac. Well, thank you so much for doing this. Isaac Carmichael, the color analyst for Griffin Vision tonight, along with Jeffrey Brandel. Again, Western wins 9-5. Thank you so much, Isaac.
Thanks, Chris.
Chris Palme here. All right, guys, that was courtesy of my YouTube channel. And if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do so. Chris Palme at Live with CDP Sports Talk. And I want to say thank you to 273 subscribers right now. I have tripled my subscribers in the last 2 years. And if you could do that, I would be great. As always, guys, Live with CDP Sports Talk is a weekly sports and entertainment talk show hosted by yours truly, Chris Palme, is on weeknights from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern on radio station WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key, the home of Southern sports and talk, the heartbeat of Atlanta. Our radio station's website is WQEE.radio12345.com. Live with CDP Sports Talk is live streamed on these platforms: YouTube, Facebook, Twitter /X, Twitch, LinkedIn, and now available on Instagram if you want to follow me there, Chris Palme on Instagram as well. I also have a website on beacons.ai/Chris D. Palme. All my digital content, my media work, and my social media sites are on there, as well as my previous radio shows as well. Live with CDP Sports Talk, again, is sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Gulf Auto Mall. Check out barrycullen.com for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, or give them a call at 519-824-0210 or email at info@barrycullen.com. Speaking of Barry Cullen Chevrolet, Discover Winter event is going on at Barry Cullen Chevrolet right now. A 2024 Silverado 1500 RST, 0.99% financing for up to 60 months. More details at barrycullen.com. And also at Barry Cullen Chevrolet right now, with a new vehicle purchase, get a $140 instant rebate on winter tires on a set of 4 new Bridgestone Blizzdack winter tires. Purchase, finance, lease of an eligible 2022 to 2025 vehicle. Again, more details at barrycullen.com or stop by the dealership at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Gulf Auto Mall. I'm also a content creator on TikTok. You can follow me there at Live with CDP on TikTok, and I post a lot of content there, as well as reels of my shows from today's shows as well will be on there as well. StreamYard is the official live stream provider of Live with CDP Sports Talk. If you're into webinars or you're into podcasting such as yours truly, check out StreamYard.com. They have free plans for 0 month, free basic plans, or you can get a professional plan up to $49 US. And if you're a business, they do have business plans available for on StreamYard. Check out StreamYard.com and contact the sales department there for more information if you're a business looking to use StreamYard as well. Live with CDP Sports Talk, the audio version is available on these platforms: iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, Spotify for Podcasters, Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Pocket Casts, Radio Public, Spotify, Castbox, LinkedIn, Pandora, and Tuned In. And finally, you can email or text Live with CDP Sports Talk at cpalme19@gmail.com, or you can text the show at 519-820-7188. Any comments, questions, feedback, suggestions would be great as well. And again, I want to say thank you to my guests today. I want to say thank you to Rachel Lipsky, a Nashville recording artist star, for coming on earlier this afternoon. And thank you to Sonja Pearson, the podcast host of her show called Prim and Proper Sports, formerly known as All Things Football, from a lady's perspective, for coming on as well. And I just want to say thank you to everyone watching this live stream and also on audio. I hope everybody had a great Family Day holiday here in Ontario and President's Holiday in the States. And I hope you guys can tune in to Live with CDP Sports Talk Season 7, Episode 41, Wednesday, February 21st at 9 a.m. with Marcellus Bowman, the head strength and conditioning coach for the Canadian Football League's Hamilton Tiger Cats. I hope everybody has a great evening, and we'll see you back here Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. And again, Live with CDP Sports Talk is brought to you by Barry Cullen Chevrolet here in Guelph, and weeknights at 8 on WQEE 99.1 FM. Good night, everybody, and we'll see you Wednesday morning for another edition of Live with CDP Sports Talk.